Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too. We'd like to thank our sponsor, iZotope, the absolute leaders in intuitively designed plugins for audio restoration, mixing, and mastering. At iZotope.com, you'll find a plethora of tools and suites that will enhance your audio production, whether it's voice, video, podcast, or a full production recording session. Check out the industry-standard audio repair tool, RX11, or the multi-tool mixer plugin, Neutron 5, or the powerful Ozone 11 mastering suite, plus tons more. Go to iZotope.com and use the code FRET10 at checkout for 10% off. That's FRET10 to get 10% off at checkout. And again, the website is iZotope.com, IZOTOPE.com. What's happening? Welcome to Hyphenate Halftime. This is our show for Monday, April 28th. I'm your host, Randy Randall. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Mr. Aaron Farley. How do you do today, sir?
Good. We didn't come here to save money.
No, exactly. That was our lead-in time. Youth
Yes,
sports. This is not why we showed up to sports. To save money.
Final quote before we hit start. We did not come here to save money.
Yeah. Yep. I was thinking, do we need a preamble of what this show is? If people like hearing the interview shows and then they hear this show, or vice versa, do I need a preamble in front of the interview show? Because I'm wondering, are we a schizophrenic podcast? Like I met people say, oh, if I tell people go listen to Hyphenate, I have a podcast, and they tune into one of these episodes versus tuning into like the interview episodes.
Yeah.
Are we insane for doing this? Or
they're like why do you keep interviewing this same guy every week? Is he that?
It's like, get over.
Does he? How much stuff does he do? There can't be that much.
I always knew podcasts are just like old white guys complaining about things, but I didn't know that's what you did every day. Wow, yeah, every week.
This is true.
I don't know. Maybe we need a preamble or something like this is the companion show to last week's interview show. I don't know if I need some kind of explanation because I've heard Mark Maron say that every podcast could be someone's first podcast, like jumping in. Usually you just jump in the stream. So you have to maybe have some kind of introduction or breadcrumb trail or welcoming people into the party.
You mean think about the listeners, Randy?
I know.
That is. Let's not get crazy.
We've never done that before. Why would we start doing that now? You're right.
No, maybe you should make maybe it should have its own
little script,
theme, like a little theme song.
It does have a theme song. What are you talking about? Earlier?
No, but I mean,
the podcast. It's different than the other podcast.
I've never listened to this one.
Oh, this is good. These ones are good.
This has its own theme song.
You should listen to it. That's a cool co-host. It's very different than the interview shows.
It goes dun dun dun, and then it's me just saying a bunch of dumb stuff for like 5 minutes, like really bad quotes, make me look horrible.
I take every dumb thing you've ever said from every podcast, and I add one more word. From
it just gets longer and longer and longer.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. But yeah, no, this is the podcast where we catch up and talk about last week's interview show. I don't know. I think I just enjoyed, I like doing the interviews, but I also like the general messing around and the camaraderie sort of community podcast aspect of it too. So this is sort of takes that part because the interviews I do by myself, and I think it's just out of like scheduling our mechanics too. I mean, we definitely should team up on some interviews. I think that would be fun to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I love listening to your, like I said, I like to call them conversations.
Not really interviews.
They're very conversatory. Is that way?
Conversatorial.
Conversatorial. Yes. They're very conversatorial to be like highfalutin about it. No, but I liked listening to it because I feel like you and I over the years have been we have like the Venn diagram where our scenes and friends mix, but mostly kind of on the peripheries, so that it's really great to hear these conversations with people that I am like one or two people away from, but never met, but like know their bands or know the people that they were in bands with or whatever. But then you're able to like have a very personal conversation with them because almost everybody you've known personally to a certain extent.
Yeah,
And
I
so
try.
it's great for me to hear.
Until we'll become, insanely more popular and I can book giant celebrity guests. Until
You've
that
had
happens,
one-
most of these will be people I know. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think there's been a few celebrities. Some I've known a little bit, and then Kyle MacLachlan, sort of the outlier. I shot I had my shot and I took it and it worked.
It was a good one.
Thanks. Yeah. I still feel like that's like my Obama. That's my.
You did it early. Some people it takes 15 years to get the
Yes.
Obama, and you got it in the first 2. That's
Yep.
good. But then Dune came back out in that whole time frame, and
perfect timing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think there's lots of dream guests. I mean, I'm not giving up on some of these other ones. I've been chasing Lee Ronaldo.
But I mean, you've had
for months or maybe a year. So he's nice enough to write me back and say, oh, not right now, but maybe in like next month or something. And then I'll put a little note to myself, like check back in with Lee Ronaldo. And then I do. And then he puts it off again. And then I wait till the next year. I'm like, why haven't I
just keep it up? Keep it up. Because
every spring I will reach out to Lee Ronaldo and see how many more months. It's like Groundhog Day. Like,
I mean, you've had a lot of.
That's how I know if winter's turned to spring. If Lee Ronaldo tells me to just a few more months.
But to me, like the dream celebrity guests are like the fact that you got both the dudes from Lightning Bolt.
That's true.
Amazing.
Yeah, you don't hear from Gibson very often. That I have a lot of friends to thank for that one. Jeff Rosenberg helped me with that one.
Ray Barbie. The very beginning.
Was early on, yeah.
Really early. He was in studio too, right?
Yeah.
Pajo, David Pajo.
Great.
That was amazing.
Yeah. I think there's a few more that could come up
list.
this year. Hopefully I can keep pulling out the randos.
Honestly, for me, those are the people that I want to hear from because they are people that you don't necessarily hear interviews from often.
Mm-hmm.
And they're people that like I know music. I know their music and listen to the music, but I'm not really a researcher. And so I mean, some people are, they know all the stuff and they read the books and they look at all the albums and they look like, oh, who produced this? Oh, okay. I'm going to go look up that. Like there's definitely people. And those are the people that I was always like 2 steps down. Like I always knew those people as friends and be like, okay, which records should I get this month? And I'm like, oh, well, what color vinyl do you want? Or whatever, it'd be like, well, here's what's coming out, or here's, you should listen to this band that just came out on this record label that was produced by, and I'm like, you had me at, this is what you should buy. I'm going to just go get that one, and then I'll go from there.
I think, you have to tap your mic. It's farting.
Again?
I don't know if it's coming up on the thing, but it's doing a funny thing. Oh, I forgot. I forgot to add more things to our soundboard. But is my mic good now? Is my mic getting weird? Yes.
Still?
No, I think it's good. It's good. Now there's just people applauding and clapping.
Oh wait, I can't hear it.
Oh, you don't hear the clapping? Oh, it's on the preview.
No, I heard it just a little bit.
Oh wait, here it is. It's probably coming from my headphones.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Okay,
I forgot about the soundboard.
The soundboard.
Oh my God, we're going to be producing our own podcast. Like we're going to be like, well, no, producer Jimmy over there, then you're going to have an alter ego where you have to turn into producer Jimmy.
Yeah. Well, hey, I do what I can.
You'll need a different name and. Oh my God! Was that like THX
transition? Transition 5 coming up.
Oh my God! This is going to get better and better.
We really need stuff. Yeah, I don't have enough in here, but let's see. Yeah,
you can load it up this week.
Okay, put that on my to-do list.
Yes, this does make me feel better.
Doesn't you're going to definitely have a whole audience.
You'll have to definitely get like a Star Wars theme and the maybe Breaking Bad. Something that's very specific.
Yeah,
and then we'll start getting fans of just the soundboard fans. We're like, oh, I can't wait till Randy does the Mike Tyson biting the ear off of Evander Holyfield
Oh, no.
sound or whatever. I don't know, something. That's just the first thing that popped into my head. I don't know.
Yeah, I understand. I think these, yeah, I mean, I remember growing up, there was always a lot of it was definitely like Howard Stern, like Gary
for sure.
or Fred, Fred. Yeah, Fred had this crazy soundboard.
Never really said anything, but
he was like surgical with it. Like he could, almost have a conversation.
And then he always had a couple like voices that he would do.
Fa-fa-fooey.
Tata-toofy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was like 20 years ago. Just crazy. 25.
Even, right? Yeah. I mean, this was in the 90s. I remember going to high school in the 90s and like driving in the morning listening to Howard on like terrestrial radio before. I think it was like 20 years ago he went to satellite and then kind of calmed down and chilled out and became the older, kinder, gentler satellite Howard.
Yeah. When he went to do America's Got Talent or whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah, he definitely mellowed out.
That was even later. Back in the days. Back in the days when now these podcasts today, they don't have soundboards like they used to.
Well, I've done a few, or we did, as No Aid went into Sirius XM in New York a couple times, a handful of times to talk to Jenny Eliscu, who would be a great guest. She had kind of like the indie rock show, but it was like it was right in the middle of Manhattan, like like couldn't be more like a building that Spider-Man would work at or something.
Yeah,
you gotta like get clearance and gotta get a thing. You can't really park. I remember we would have to like just jump out of the van or jump out of the car. It was like nowhere to park. And I don't think we had to load. We didn't have to load it and stuff, but we were on tour, so we always had our gear. So we'd have to have somebody else drive it around for us, like drive around while we were doing that because you can't park anywhere. Yeah. And so we'd jump out and then run in, and then and her show was kind of like in a weird fishbowl, like right when in the lobby, like right when you got onto the, I don't know what floor they were on, the 70th floor of some huge high rise. But then the Howard Stern show is off to the right of the elevator banks.
Really?
He had his own like separate wing, and you needed your own clearance and security to get that way. But the rest of so it's like he had half the floor, and then the rest of the radio studios were the other half. But that was wild. That was probably the closest we got to Howard.
I do remember when having satellite radio for those years, and
I paid for it just for Howard. I was definitely one of those people. They're cool, $20 for the year. Like, and I get Howard all the time. Sure. Sounds good.
And then you'd listen to all the other stuff, and then every once in a while you'd listen to another show that would be complaining about the fact that you weren't allowed to look Howard Stern in the eyes or whatever when he'd walk in with his baked chicken or something. I don't know. I always remember this. Like, I mean, it really only existed because the drama was so good. It was always drama.
With Howard, you mean?
Yeah. It was always, there was just like someone was fighting or like, I don't know.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
It was fun times.
Yeah, it was great.
Fun times back in those radio days before we had YouTube to take YouTube and Instagram to just like completely suck all the time out of our lives.
Or a wide variety of podcasts to choose from. I think that's mostly what I listen to in the car now.
That's true, huh?
Is either the children torturing me with their Spotify playlist selections, or I have a podcast on.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, we were talking about Friends and Friends of Friends. I do not know the gentleman in the Bronx very well, but I think you do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Joby.
I bring it up because in the episode, or I think in the intro, I talk about Laena seeing Shannon at the Orlando airport. They ran into each other, and Laena was playing violin with the Bronx Mariachi. On a 311 cruise. I don't know why I felt so like.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
I didn't want to be so blatant about it because I didn't know if she was keeping that on the down low. It's just one of her. She's a session violinist. She can be booked for live gigs and things. So the thing that she was coming back from when Shan bumped into her at the Florida airport was playing in the Bronx Mariachi on the 311 cruise, and she said it was a nightmare. Yeah.
Oh, how could a 311 cruise be a nightmare, Randy?
Again, right? But it gets back into our world of flavor, right? 311 is our go-to band. Yeah. I don't think Amber was very much the color of everybody's energy there. I think it was a lot of like frat boys pissing drugs into the pool. Still to this day, I can't believe it. It's like,
I mean, America is weird right now. It's a weird place. It has become. I feel like it has become place that it always knew, or it's become the place it always knew it was going to be. Yeah. No, it always knew it was going to be, but it always wanted to pretend that it would get its, that it would get everything together before it got to that place. Be like, don't worry. I know it seems a little rough right now. It's like in the 80s and 70s, 80s and 90s. Like, don't worry, but we're going to get this together. We're going to have some like really good, we're going to have some culture. We're going to be a real strong place. And then like we have gotten to the place where we have 311 cruises. I'm like,
yeah.
Wait, so we're going to go out on a boat and there's going to be mostly 311 and other bands playing on a cruise for like 5 days. Oh no. Wait,
no, we did it. Oh no. We ruined the timeline. Everybody, we have to abandon ship, abandon this timeline. We're in the bad timeline. There was somewhere else there was a good timeline. That's how we know we've officially crossed over the bad timeline.
And we're not going to the Paris, France, where everybody's like, no, it got to a place to where like everybody's kind of fashionable. Everybody cares about fashion. They go out late at night to eat and everybody's out in the streets, and then they protest the government all the time. And they have
that has not
universal health care. Like, we're not going that way.
No.
They're like, no.
It's the opposite.
We're going, it's the other way. Like, I had a friend from Australia that just texted me, and she's like, what is happening? What's happening with your country? But she's like, her family, like she said, we just canceled a trip to the US because we're seeing all this stuff, and like, people, God forbid we have a free Palestine like text on our phone or something, and they look at it and put us in jail. And I'm like, yeah, you probably shouldn't come here. I mean, honestly, like, wait a while, because I don't know.
America, we did it.
Yeah. That's everyone from Canada.
Don't come to America anymore. It's not worth the flight.
You'll
be turned away for no reason.
That's all the Canadians going. You guys, we've been telling you, it's okay.
It's always been bad down here.
Yeah, it's always been a weird place. But I do feel like, obviously with the current administration and everything, it's just getting so weird. Like, just in general, like,
putting it mildly. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, weird can be bad as well. But weird can also just be like, are these people saying these things? And they just are saying them straight at your face when everybody knows that it's not true. And that everybody just goes, okay. Well, let's table this one. We're going to table this one till later. Like, why are we tabling so much stuff?
Alternate reality. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. It's really one of those
freedom, man.
Yeah. No, that's the opposite of that. That's the thing. It became this double speak, Orwellian thing that I think has been said so much, but it doesn't make it any less true that, like, it's like the EPA are the ones selecting sites to drill. It's this feeling of like, this is not the thing that you're supposed to protect. Is now those are the people that are doing the most harm to those things. The Department of Education is no longer educating people, but sending them into bankruptcy court.
Yes,
they're now
yes, they're trying to collect.
Yeah, it's just you know what I mean. And there's just things that are just like, okay, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
there's the naming alone. If you just stick on that, as a thread, just keep pulling threads of why are things named what they are and what do they actually do.
Yeah, we're in the upside down world of upside down worlds.
I saw
tumbling around, going, this shouldn't be this way, right? And everyone's like, yeah, but what's over there? And then they just run away.
Yeah, it's indefensible. Not that it was ever defensible in the past, but there's at least a sense of like, well, that's the government, that's not us, that's this. And you realize, well, there is a cultural movement behind this thing. Like, I don't have a defense for anything. Like, I don't agree with it, but obviously, yet here we are. You know what I mean? If disagreeing mattered, if voting against things mattered, then we wouldn't be here. Because we all,
this is true.
So we're in this, we're beyond the like, well, democracies will go one way or the other, and the pendulum swings this way, and then the pendulum swings that way, and in the end, the long arc towards justice, right? And it feels very much swing. It's continuing to swing the wrong direction, and doesn't show any signs of slowing down.
I think someone turned the arc upside down. Like the arc towards justice seems like, no, it's justice. I'm like, no, you just wrote justice right there. That's actually not the arc towards justice. They're like, no. They're like, no, that's written in Sharpie.
Yeah.
It's written in Sharpie
It's crayon.
and it's pointing towards it. And you scratched the other thing out, which is injustice.
That's not how this works.
It used to say injustice, and you're like, no, that's just a no.
That's not.
It says
injustice doesn't mean what you think it means. It just means justice.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah. No, we're saying you are inside of justice. You're in justice.
Right.
No, Oh,
what was this text thing I saw on Instagram where it was something like being a science writer today is exceptionally hard, but it'd be like if you were a sports journalist and people, fought about whether baseball existed.
Right.
Trying to write about a subject that people can't even verify if it's even real or not. Like you're just made up a subject. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't even. There's no interesting movement forward. There's no interesting conversation to be had there.
Yeah.
If you can't just agree on the basic facts of what's real and not real. So.
Yeah. Or they've realized that you don't. If you can get people to argue about whether the thing has validity, then you don't actually have to argue about any of
the contents
the thing,
of it, or
the contents. Yeah. And I feel like this is even brings up, what you talk about all the time with Spotify and everything else, that all of this idea of self-producing and all that, everyone's like, no, it's going to be freedom for artists. It's going to be, trust me, this is all about freedom. It's about freedom for the little guy. It's about artists. It's about blah, 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 blah. And then when streaming comes up, you're like, oh, wait, how are you making more money than even the labels were? Oh, damn. Nope, not about freedom.
No.
That's right. It's about pinching the pennies from everybody.
Yeah. Anybody that is making money off of anything rarely has any interest in freedom. Freedom is rarely profitable.
No.
In my experience.
Yeah.
But getting to it's last week's interview, Laena.
Yes. Speaking of music.
She was awesome. I think I opened up her show with like the quote about just some kind of like creative musical church or something, like just the desire to just like have some kind of alternate lifestyle sort of supporting thing where you could really just be an artist, this kind of artistic commune.
Yeah.
And I think she's developed some inroads towards that, I think, at least in her work with kids and after school programs and teaching music, being available as a session musician and working on her own projects. Like it feels like, okay, well, she's doing something right. She's like constructing that her reality that works for her to accomplish, her creative goals.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do think that was like that kind of lifestyle was supported more. I don't know. You can generalize probably in certain areas, that kind of artistic lifestyle was supported more in the past, of being like a free artist, and you could do I guess in other countries it is, like our friends in Australia used to get grants to come over here and play music to like to send Australian culture out into the world or whatever, and they'd get their tours paid for and stuff. And they were like little bands playing in bars, but it was supported by the country because the country found value in art, and that brought more commerce back to Australia, and it brought more attention and everything else,
and cultural
totally
appreciation. It's not impossible to see the value in something like that.
Of course. And I think here always there's I hear it all the time. Like we went through the big fight with it, even in California, to vote for that Prop 28 that ended up putting school fund, like art, music, and theater funding into schools and making it mandatory. And that's the only reason I have a job now. Like my whole job is paid for by Prop 28.
Wow.
Just starting. And that the middle school that I'm at did not have funding for art last year. They just couldn't afford it. So they have an amazing music program. So they already had that like taken care of, but they had always wanted to do an art program, but just didn't have the money and the students and everything. And they voted. And now like all of even up here at the RIM, the high school and middle school and everything, they got extra funding for the arts and stuff. And you see all these kids, like I mean, I talk to Michelle about it all the time, and a lot of the kids that I have struggle in math and English and are really good artists, because they have visual, they're maybe visual learners, or a lot of them, you turn out they have issues with dyslexia, or I mean, even a lot of the kids that are technically kind of on the spectrum end up being extremely creative, like creative weirdo, kind of like making really weird drawings that are kind of out of the bounds of what's going on. I have a couple kids that I just let, like, they can't understand the steps of, like, they just can't exist within the steps of the lessons or whatever. And I learned pretty quick. I mean, it took me maybe a quarter to be like, okay, no, you can do it. And I'm like, why am I pushing this kid to do this one thing that it's like, I need to figure out what they need to do, and they're totally self-contained in their creativity or whatever, and I just need to make sure they're finishing whatever they're doing. Like, I'm just going to push them, like, okay, you're going to get graded, but you have to finish your thing. So we'll figure out what you're going to do, and you're going to just do your own project. But a lot of those kids, like, I mean, I think, like, in every one of my classes, I have, technically 4 to 6 kids who are, somewhere on the spectrum of learning difficulties mixed with, pretty heavy, like, kind of autism. And almost all of them, except for one, are artistic. Are like one kid comes in every day. He's like, I'm going to be drawing the French Revolution today. And I'm like, okay, what do you need? I need 2 pieces of paper. I need a Chromebook. I need blue. I need red. And I need a black color pencil. And I will be drawing the French Revolution. And I'm like, okay. And then he'll do like
he's more focused and together than most creative people I know.
And it's amazing.
I wish people would have that much.
And he does these amazing cartoons of, like, they're all over the place, but it's like, he's looking exactly what the hats look like and what all this stuff. And then, he's like, did you hear that the Pope died today? I'm like, I did. He's like, I am going to be drawing the Pope's funeral. Okay, gosh. Let's go. So he looked up all of the most recent Pope's funerals and, like, what kind of building it is. He drew the building. He did it, and he's like, maybe even 5 years ago, he might have been pushed out into whatever, because, he can have a tough time dealing with other kids and sitting still and all of those things. But then you find out that a lot of those kids that have learning difficulties might also just be a different kind, like, their brains are going somewhere else, in this kind of creative, artistic, like, circular, nonlinear way. And when you bring back music and theater and art, a lot of those kids finally find a way of, like, oh wait, I'm not as different as I feel. Like, I found a thing, and then there's other kids that also exist in this thing, and we can all kind of, like, be weird together, and the weirdness in this space is actually normal. So I do think that thought process of creativity. And I was just telling Michelle, so I had 3 of my classes that are kind of just beginning art do these self portraits, and it was like this Sharpie, and then you have to paint the back of this acetate, and you flip it over. And 3 of my kids that are pretty heavily on the spectrum, kind of similar personalities too, the things they talk about and everything, their portraits, almost all 3 of them in different classes, look identical. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. Like, they're painted very similarly and, like, very wild, like, very, like, and they're supposed to paint like how they feel, and this is like, oh, there's like 20 different colors, there's different shapes everywhere, and it looks like a mess, but it's very organized, but, like, very, like, a lot of things going on. And I'm like, oh, this might be like, this might make some sense to show, like, the counselors of, like, this is how these kids feel. I don't know, this might help, and you find those visual kind of learners that struggle with, I mean, a lot of them end up, when they struggle with reading, they find out, they're dyslexic or, you know, yeah, not linear thinkers.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I know there's books and books written about art therapy or art theory of strategies of processing and working through things, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know a lot about it. I when I was teaching in between bands and Amoeba Records and everything else, I got in as a special needs or special ed substitute for high school, and not really knowing much, with real no training. I think the LAUSD just kind of throws bodies at different things, and that was one area they needed people. So I was able to, when I said I would do special ed high school, they're like, okay, you're hired. Let's start to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So fascinating though, but it ended up being a lot of IEPs and paperwork and kind of doing the filing and things. But I definitely learned a lot about it and really just have a profound respect and just kind of awe and humility around what it takes, to sort of just engage and sort of, I think the idea of accommodations and sort of meeting students where they are and kind of, setting goals and scaffolding things that work for them and meet them at their level, and then building from that, I think it's one of those things you're like, of course, why would you ask a 5-year-old to run a marathon? This is not what they do. They're not designed to do this. You know what I mean? They just learned to walk a year ago, or 2 years ago. They're just getting on their feet. Don't ask them to read Dostoevsky and recite whatever. It just always feels like just meet people where they are. And I think it goes across the board on so many other ways when you really think about it like that. Because I have I'm of the opinion that the idea of the spectrum is such a great metaphor and visualization for that, because chances, we didn't really talk like that when we were in school. We didn't have that kind of the conceptions and visualizations of those kinds of things. But if you think about it, like, most people are on one spectrum or another, in one way or 100%. Another. And whether or not, I think there's, again, debate around labels and labeling things, and you don't want to be boxed in or diminish people's ability to excel by having a label. Once there's there's debates around that kind of boxing in, or sort of giving specific language to things, rather than pushing people past what's been known. But I think just the ability to have empathy for others, and just like, totally. Let's teach you, what do you need? Like, that's number one. I think it comes from like hospitality and like restaurant service too. It's like, I want to feed you food you want to eat. You came here to learn. Let's have you walk away today with knowing something more in your brain, have something more in your brain than you did when you got in here. What does that take? Just break it down into those simple kind of terms and go, cool. Did you have an enriching day today? Did you use your brain? Good. Then that's a success. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll keep it going. And eventually it'll scaffold into something. You can build on those building blocks, but you can't build on something that's not there. It's amazing. I've done volunteer work also with the Tierra del Sol Foundation here in Sunland, near us, and it's fantastic. It's an art students for adults with developmental disabilities, and they create such an amazing work. Have you been through there or seen any of their works or things?
No, but I was going to actually ask you about this because when I went to that, like, the art fair that's at the Roosevelt Hotel every year. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like one of the LA art fairs, but it's more of kind of local, smaller galleries, and they take over. Each of the galleries has a room in the hotel room in the Roosevelt for a weekend. And Tierra del Sol had a room there this year, like showing, and they were showing they were showing one main artist, and then they had a wall that they were showing, and that was one artist. And then they had an artist outside that did ceramics as well. And the work was insane. Like, it was so good. It was so like fun and childlike, but also really well thought out, and it was made kind of childlike in a way, but like as an adult, right? Like, it was the artist that they showed made these really intricate make these paper cars or cardboard cars, but they were like matchbox car size, but he would cut them perfectly out of cardboard and make it like a perfect Mustang, but it still looked like childlike, but there were a ton of them. And then he had he would make ceramic, he got into real like baseball stadiums.
Oh.
And so he would make like his own rendition of these baseball stadiums that were like 3 feet by 3 feet by like a foot and a half high, all made out of ceramics, with the seats and with baseball. Like, it was unreal. It was so cool, so amazing. And I talked to the woman. I got her card, and I was gonna, because I knew that you've done music stuff there.
She blonde?
I don't remember. This was a couple months ago, but
yeah, she's incredible. But
anyway,
the people that work there
so cool.
Are so rad, and they do such great work, and they really
so awesome.
have a great way of transitioning, the work into like gallery, presentations and work that can hang in a gallery and really have like the appropriate sort of like, context and setting around it that sort of allows it to shine through and, sort of be appreciated for the art that it is, and just seeing their facilities too. It's just like, this is so rad. I haven't been able to volunteer there for the last couple months just from being busy and working and things. But it's incredible. It's inspiring. It was always one of those things I was like, so every month when I got to do it, I was just come back like, okay, I'm good. My spirit is busting out of my chest here. I got just put sunshine inside of my stomach. I just felt like I was just beaming. Just like, all right, life's good. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of bad things in the world, but there is good things happening here. I'm not crying. You're crying. Okay. This is fine. This is good.
And and I thought what was cool about that too is that they're legitimate. It's not just like, oh, we're helping these people make some little art projects. I'm like, no, they're supporting them to be professional artists. Yeah. Like, they sell their work, and the artist gets the same cut that an artist would always get as an artist. Like, I'm assuming it's 50%, but they get their cut of the work, and then the gallery is making a cut, and then wherever it's a real business, and they're supporting these people that may have a tough time with the business part of it, or selling, or getting out into the world and doing that stuff. And they're just supporting them in the art making part. And then when the work sells, the people are making a living from it. And it's amazing. I mean, it's so good.
Yeah. It's inspiring to see, you know what I mean? And you think about and I was thinking too, when you were first talking just about, the idea of like, what is the value of art, or how do you even like quantify that when you have to like put on a line item budget of like teaching art to kids, and what do these things mean? And there was a great video clip of Ethan Hawke, the actor. Have you seen that? Have you seen him talk about it?
Probably.
It was,
I think so.
I feel like
it was just recently,
it was like
right?
a viral clip, in the last 6 months or whatever. At least it went. I don't know when it was from, but it was that kind of. I think his argument was sort of, it's the thing that says something that no one else can say, or says it in a way that has never been said before, and the value comes at even if you were to accomplish everything you wanted in your life and finances or everything else, but what are you left with? What do you do with all of that? You know what I mean? You can't turn that into a painting, or you can't, there's art is there to sort of like to reflect your soul back to you, to reflect your experience of life in ways that can't be quantified in any other way. It's the song that reminds you of your childhood or your first love. It's those feelings inside. It's the painting that transports you to another place and reminds you to dream, and why you got into your business in the first place, or why you even, dare to ask a girl out on a date. And now, here you are further on in your life. It's all these moments that art lives with you in ways that is unquantifiable. Yeah. And so but even for people who say it has no value or isn't important, it's part of your life, whether you want it or not. These are the things you see or that, that surround you. It's the shitty painting at the doctor's office when you find out you have cancer. Yeah. It's the way the raindrops sparkle on your car when you survived the accident, and when your car was slid off the road, but you look back at it now and everything's glistening and it looks like diamonds all around you, and you can't believe you're alive and you actually made it and you're able to walk, or those moments of your life that you see through the physical world and see something larger in a spiritual sort of like connection. Inside your soul inside of you connects with something larger outside there. That's art. That's what art does. Good art should do that. There's plenty of bad art, and there's plenty of art that doesn't work for you in particular, but everyone's unique, and what connects, what's the key to your soul that unlocks you to some larger connection to life. Like you have to find it, and that's what art should be doing.
Well, and it's also a way, I feel like it's a way of communicating in large generalities too. I mean, it's like music, the music that sticks around is the music that can bring 100 people into a room together for no other reason than you're like, I really like listening to this song. Like, that's crazy, right? Like, that doesn't,
or
like
100,000 people into a stadium,
or 100,000
to their favorite,
song. or 100,000 people into the desert to watch 400 bands, that just to like, I just want to be there because this is where the people are, for whatever reason, marketing, whatever. At the end of the day, like, marketing is not, it's the music that has people there, right? Yeah. Like, that has people in these places. And I think, like, people go to Paris to go to the Louvre to see the Mona Lisa, right? It's like, you go to this place, like, I don't even know. I saw it in a book.
To see the Eiffel Tower.
To see
the architecture. I mean, it's all art, right?
Yeah. To see the Gaudi, like, in Spain, like, just all of those things. And I think the interesting thing about art or creativity is that it's kind of the only thing that we have that sticks around, right? You have stories. Stories get passed down. You have art and sculptures and ceramic bowls and whatever, and designs, and you have music that gets passed down. And like, those are the things, like, those are the oldest things we have are stories, physical art, and music. And that's kind of it, right? I mean, architecture, I guess, would be considered some kind of creative art. But so that's always the thing, I think, when people say, like, oh, you're an artist, oh, you're just sitting around painting or whatever. And you're like, yeah, because this is literally the baseline of what humans do. Yeah. Right? Especially when you don't have to look for food all day. Yeah. When you figure out how to... There you go. Yeah. Art. You're welcome. Yes. Art.
Let's have some clapping for art.
When, as a group of people, you figure out how you don't have to look for food all day. Yes. Then you tell stories about like where the food is, or
like to find the food, how to prepare the food. Where
or you write, you draw art on the rocks around you to tell people like where celebrating the achievements, but probably. I'm going to guess most of that was like, this is where the buffaloes run through in spring, or whatever. Like, go to the rock with the red buffaloes on it, because that's the place they
carve into
coming.
The rock. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the songs, which were probably to keep the stories being told down, because the beat will help you remember the stories.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like all these ways of telling stories. And I think it's just still like that. It's just commodified now, but it still is like every high school kid that starts a band, and either they cover all the songs that they love so much, or they try to write their own like feelings so that other people can, so that they don't just have to yell about it. And they're like, well, if I put a beat behind this, I can complain about a bunch of stuff and it sounds good. And it brings a lot of people out, and it's great. And I get it off my chest, and it's really fun. And I meet a bunch of people, and this is my community.
And at that age, it's so important to be heard. I think there's that kind of feeling of like coming into your own skin and feeling like you're not validated, or you're not seen as important, or, you're being told to just, kind of get with the program. But yeah, well,
totally.
It's part of the expression, just being seen.
And when my dog agrees. And when you do say that, and then a bunch of people go, yeah,
Yeah,
I feel
right.
that way too. And you go, oh,
I think
I'm not
we've
alone.
created a
Great.
community. I think
Oh, this is awesome.
we have a shared experience
We
here.
should
Wait
put
a
all
second.
of our money
We've
into a
bonded.
practice space. And we should all live there, and it should be illegal, definitely. Don't tell when the cops come, we just run a co-op.
Yeah.
This is a co-op, and we sell T-shirts.
It's just a warehouse. Don't worry
Yeah,
about us. Nope.
don't
No
worry.
one's actually living here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, those aren't sleeping bags.
It's part of our art.
Those
It's our
are
art practice.
we're selling sleeping bags. We're
Yeah.
a sleeping bag co-op.
Sleeping bag repurposing warehouse.
Yeah. We sell racks of clothing and sleeping bags and cup of noodles.
Yeah. And headlamps
And headlamps.
And cans of chili and tuna.
Yes, totally.
Man, yeah. It's what a wild time. Yeah. I was inspired by Laena and talking with her. I think she has such a great outlook on stuff. I did not know how much to talk about her dad's involvement in Devo and that whole thing. I mean, it was a funny thing. I think when we were talking about it, it was like, most people don't ask you about your dad. What did your dad do from 21 to 26? And so I thought it must be surreal for her, or at least have a different understanding of that sort of world of like celebrity or whatever that is.
Yeah. Well, especially when she grew up and her dad was an electrician. So she didn't even, it wasn't like, it wasn't like she was going on tour and had a bunch of stories and all that stuff. It's like, no, my dad's an electrician and he played in some band.
Yeah. And he didn't talk about it. So I got
he
nothing
didn't talk
for
about
you.
it. It wasn't a big deal. And then I loved how she was saying they showed up somewhere at like Amoeba or something. What was it? And someone came up and asked her dad for an autograph. And
Oh, yeah.
Like, what?
Guitar Center.
For your autograph. Oh, Guitar Center.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, how weird. It's so funny. But like, I don't know. At the same time, like, what a cool thing. I mean, if you're going to have weird parents, it might as well be a Devo.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. At least you could say, yeah, your dad was weird and he was in a band that people have heard of.
Yeah.
That helps.
I mean, it's even weirder. It's like, you're from Ohio. That's weirder.
Well, I remember knowing her for years, and then somebody told me that after knowing her, I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe that makes sense. Or I don't know, or maybe it doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
There was another.
Well, then,
yeah.
I didn't realize that she was played in the band The Like.
Oh yeah, do you remember The Like?
I do. I
met her around that time. Yeah.
It took me a second because I was like
Tennessee.
Oh, no, that's way too familiar. And then I looked it up and went, oh yeah, right.
You were probably at all those shows.
I was at some of those shows, and then, but then I just knew them from all the Death Camp guys and the house and the people, the rotating band of people that went in and out of that house.
Right. Yeah. Many of them knew the people from The Like.
Yeah. And but then they were also there were all sorts of like side bands and people singing in other bands all the time and all that kind of stuff. So, but,
I see. They had a record that was released on Danger Bird Records, our good friends over there, Danger Bird. Released a record in 2012.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't that nice of them?
Oh, that's later. Okay. And then I read they had a Geffen record. And then
I see. Okay.
But then they had a bunch of smaller stuff. I feel like probably when I was around and they were around, they probably had, I don't know.
Got it.
I mean, it was like everyone was playing in little bars and stuff. So I don't think it was when they were. I read it because I did read the list, and then they were eventually in the like Mark Ronson.
Oh, I could see that. Amy Whitehouse or Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings kind of vibe.
Phantom Planet, kind of that whole group of people.
I see.
With like recording and producing and stuff, which was not a bad. I have to say, when I shot all of those, I used to shoot all those MySpace secret shows.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did not shoot all of them. I shot some of them, and Jeremy Weiss shot a lot of them. Mm-hmm. But I did shoot Phantom Planet for one, and It was great. It was one of the best shows.
Really?
It was really fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Was Schwartzman still in the band at that point? Playing drums?
No.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't. But then, yeah, there was a lot of good music coming out of like that kind of poppy. I don't know. What do you call that kind of music? Like poppy indie rock,
sounds right.
Kind of California.
Oh, right. That was their song. That was for the OC.
There we go. Yeah. And then one time, myself and a couple other friends somehow ended up at that dude's house during a party, and we ended up jumping in the hot tub.
Oh, nice.
Well, people weren't really happy, but it was okay. We had a couple drinks.
You weren't supposed to be in the hot tub.
Well, I mean,
dependent.
It was warm. It was ready to go. I don't know. There was a lot of people there. It was a big house. We ended up jumping in the hot tub, and then we might have had all our clothes on, and so yeah, I don't know. It probably was a whole thing. So I'm sure it just ended up, and then we ended up playing basketball with Colin Hanks at that same party, which was good. Yeah. But before we even
sounds like you were some young people in the early aughts hanging out in Los Angeles.
This was the same era that you were in. You know, you guys were starting to play
sneaking into
when you would end up at like a party at Wilt Chamberlain's house. Of like Wilt Chamberlain had already passed away, but they were the realtor was trying to get people interested in this house.
So they'd have somebody come DJ the party?
Yes. And it wasn't just DJ. It was like they were throwing massive parties at this house.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But someone who was maybe the assistant for the realtor or something was in our scene of people.
Okay.
And so he would just put all of us on the list.
Because they just needed
went up there like 2 or 3 times
to fill the party.
Yeah, make it look cool and like, cool. These are some like indie punk whatever kids. They'll show up in white t-shirts and baggy jeans and you look cool. And then, but they also had, so that house had, you can look it up. It's like the old Wilt Chamberlain house. It's kind of like, looks like a pyramid.
Oh, what?
And then it had a swimming pool that went underneath, so you could jump into the swimming pool in the living room.
What the fuck?
And then you could swim underneath the wall and end up in the swimming pool outside.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it was amazing. And so then we'd go, and then we'd be the only people like, well, there's a swimming pool here. We would just jump in the swimming pool.
Inside outside swimming pool.
Yeah. And it would just be, it was weird. It was like kind of C-list celebrities like Andy Dick. And,
of course. Yeah. That doesn't
those amount of times where it would be just like, but I'm sure if we looked at photos now, it'd be like, oh, half those people are like famous people now, but they were all younger.
Sure.
But those,
right,
those are those weird times where we were like, I was 20, well, I would have been 26, 27. And you just get a call from someone and they'd go, all right, I got the in at this, like some Saturday party. I work at a studio. I'm the assistant at a studio, and my boss said I could bring some people or whatever. And then you just drive way up into the Hollywood Hills and go, this is the weirdest town I love this place.
Well, it looks like it underwent
so
an
goofy.
extensive remodel in 2008. So that's probably when it was being sold in 2008.
No, this is way earlier than that. This was 2001, probably 2002.
Early days. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the photos.
But it still had all of his stuff in there. So
crazy.
He had no children with all of his stories.
That he knows of. Yeah. I was going to say a Wilt Chamberlain story.
I'll tell you this though. He died and no one was like, hey, I'm Wilt Chamberlain's kid. Surprising. So his whole thing went into, what do you call it? Like into probate or something?
Yeah.
Just got owned by the bank because he had no family.
What?
So they tried to sell a bunch of it, and then a bunch of it didn't sell. And so they were selling this house with all the furniture in it. He had a whole library that was all of his books and his magazines and all these that, says Wilt Chamberlain on it. And his whole garage was full of boxes and boxes of like memorabilia that didn't sell. It was a very weird thing. But anyway,
whoa.
but yeah, so for like weeks, or it was, I mean, it seemed like forever, but it was probably like 2 parties for 2 weekends or something. But I feel like that was like my first 2 years of LA, was just being with people that got calls, and all of us were dirtbags. No one had a
Free party, free
penny.
beer. Yeah.
And it'd be like, you
But
guys,
you were cool. You were
there's
cool
this
looking. You were
place,
young.
and we were pretty good at keeping it together, and being like, yeah, just be cool, man. Just be cool. Don't mess with anything. Don't steal anything. And there's beer in the fridge, and just hang out, you know? We can.
Oh, that's funny.
It's
It
fun.
looks like it was some TV writers, George Meyer and Maria Semple. They bought it in 2008. And then
Okay.
updated it, but there must have been somebody before that.
Wow. Maybe it just
unless it
stayed
just
on
started and yeah. Maybe
I mean, it's a crazy place. Are you looking at photos of it?
Yeah. So it looks
it's crazy,
like,
right? It just looks like a big pyramid.
Yeah. Huh. Wow. All right. Well, maybe I'll put a link.
A link in the bio. There will be a link in the bio. Smash the like button and we'll send you the link. Or just look it up.
Futuristic party house built for the Hall of Fame Wilt Chamberlain. There you go. Futuristic party house. Yeah, that's pretty much what the early 2000s were like in Los Angeles. It was all kind of like a futuristic party house.
Well, so yes, totally. And this is even bringing up like that same kind of circle of people at I feel weird calling it, because it's so normal to call it the death camp house, but it's a weird thing to say now.
Justify that.
So
yeah.
It was basically there was a punk house in Atwater that a lot of people lived in that we know. And there was a lot of creative people in bands making amazing artwork, fashion, like just all sorts of stuff. There's just 1,000 projects coming out of that house. And one time we walked in there in the living room, and Billy Zane was just sitting on the couch. You know that actor Billy Zane?
Titanic's very own Billy Zane?
The bad guy in Titanic.
Yeah.
So again, nobody in that house had a dime of money. Like everyone was good at hustling projects. And so everyone had like projects or a band and we walked in and I'm like,
you're Billy Zane.
Is that Billy Zane? And he was like kind of holding court in the punk house.
It's like, I was in Back to the Future. I was one of Biff Tannen's goons.
But again, like LA is the best. This is so weird.
Can somebody get Andy Dick out of the hot tub? Billy Zane's trying to finish his story over here.
Oh my God. And I do think sometimes those things pop into my head, because I also always felt like, and I still kind of till the end, not so much at the end, but because the beginning was even way weirder, that I really felt like LA was like living in a cartoon. Like it really felt like a cartoon.
Still
like
is.
It did not feel real at all, but there was always something happening. And if you took those kind of chances and tried to kind of, like as a creative person, we're trying to get into like the photo scene or galleries or whatever, and just trying to meet people and see what's happening and music and everything, that you could get into anything you wanted to. So if you wanted to go to the farthest of the far, you could. Yeah. But I always enjoyed being like somewhere right in the middle, and even and even talking about all of those things of like, yeah, I never really saw the craziness, but I never looked for it. Like I knew how crazy I wanted to get to.
Right.
And when it got anywhere past that, when you got the people at 3 a.m. going, hey, we're going to our friend's house to keep going. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to go the other way. And I'm like, I know this is where my line ends. And I knew where the line ended, and stayed out of enough trouble, I guess. Always stayed busy, stayed out of trouble. But
you never ended up at Diddy's house. Is what you're trying to say?
No, maybe no, never ended. I did end up, I would end up in a car. These stories
could all take a dark turn pretty quick. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Where would these cars?
No.
Where did these cars go?
No, we're like, hey, we're going to Malibu, or and it's like 1:00 in the morning. Like, well, okay, I guess I don't have work in the morning. Or the worst is, we're going to Vegas, guys.
Oh no, that's bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would happen.
I
That happened a couple
I ended
times.
up in Long Beach a few times. Fuck.
Yeah.
Waking up in
Like,
Long Beach, like
how
I don't want to be here.
how
I
am
didn't
I
want
going
to
to
be
get
here
back?
last night. How did I get in this car? I think my bike is somewhere. My bike locked up downtown. I hope it's still there. Fuck.
Oh my
I
god.
thought I was getting a ride home, but first we got to stop off in Long Beach.
Yeah.
No, and then we never
Yeah.
left.
You'll get a ride home eventually.
Mm-hmm.
That's so funny, man. But it is weird. I do think that I like hearing the stories. I like hearing the stories when she was going through all of her old bands. Like, well, then I played in this band for a little while, and then I played, and it was a reminder of all of those things of like, yeah, everybody that was in a band
Also played in 10 other bands.
also played in at least one, or had sat in for someone, or for like a single night when there was something going on, and someone needed to make a band because they booked a show.
Yes.
Or, you know,
Those are still some of my
I know
favorite times. I love those.
you've told those stories multiple times of like, oh yeah, we got, and I keep wanting to come back to something that you said like 3 weeks ago when you talked about playing in a band, No Flag.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I didn't know
Keith
this.
and Dez.
I don't think I knew this.
Oh, you never saw this?
Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah,
No.
sure. I mean, we're getting right here to the hour, but this will be buried deep in the
quick
archives
one.
of it. Well, no, I'm happy to talk about it. Lance Bangs has footage of it, so I know it does exist. He recently, the filming, the I don't know what we call it, camera operator, DP, Lance Bangs, documentarian, maybe Lance Bangs had played the footage he had of us doing this at one of his like secret birthday party like footage festivals. I think he has a lot of hard drives full of archival material of stuff that maybe was a project will happen eventually, but he just kind of until then just has these hard drives of things. So what did we do? No Age was doing our second record for Sub Pop, everything in between, and I think Dean didn't really want to like do like a big show, like in terms of like we should play the Fonda, or we should try to do that. I think it just didn't feel authentic to us as a band, but we were having a sense of popularity. Like there should be some kind of show. Like we opened for Sonic Youth at the Hollywood Bowl, and now we should do our own headlining show. The record's out, go do something big and impressive. But Dean wasn't interested in having like a Golden Voice, El Rey show or something. He wanted to try to think of something different. So we did a free show at MacArthur Park in the Clamshell. Amazing. It was kind of downtown, and it was free, so it was fun.
Yeah.
And it was packed. I don't know whether it was 600 people came or something, and it was cool. And it was a fun way to do it. But we had met Keith, through all the FYF stuff, and we talked about Keith Morris being around. Yeah. And I think at that point, this was probably 2010, sort of the height of like bands doing reunions, and like, oh, what bands should haven't done reunions yet, like who are all these things, and kind of the height of like an 80s punk sort of thing. So we knew Chuck Dukowski, the bass player, former bass player from Black Flag. He had a band of Chuck Dukowski Sextet that would play The Smell and stuff. And so the idea was floated out, like, oh, what if we played some Black Flag songs? Because we'd already, I think by that point I had played some Husker Du songs with Bob Mould.
Oh, wow.
So that was something else we had done. And that was really fun. So it was kind of this funny thing. Like, what if we just sat in and just got to play in our favorite bands? Like we could do something like this. And so we'd asked Keith and Chuck if they wanted to do that. And then promoter Sean Carlson kind of got involved because he was putting the show together. And then he sort of gave it a name, the No Flag thing, and made posters and made shirts of it. And did his promoter kind of thing to it, where we just thought it'd be fun to play some Black Flag songs, like first 4 years, the first 7-inch, because the songs that because Keith only, sang on a handful of songs, but then was there to write others, and then was out of the band. So we asked them, they're like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And so it was really fun getting to practice with them. And And it was cool just even talking to Chuck, because we were doing Nervous Breakdown, and Dean and I had already been covering that for like encores and stuff. We would play Black Flag songs in encores. We're just in our set whenever we wanted to, and it was cool playing Nervous Breakdown. And then Chuck was like, "No, there's a groove to it, man. You gotta like throw it, and there's like a swing. People forget that Black Flag was not on a metronome. It was a real funk and a groove to it." And I'm like, "Okay," from the horse's mouth. This is exactly he would know.
That's awesome.
And so we play. So there's a band from Philadelphia called Ceremony that opened the show, and then I think they've gone on to be a bigger like punk resurgent band kind of vibe. So they played first, and then we came out and played, and there was like a guy in a wheelchair like being crowd surfed, like in a wheelchair, like while we played our set, and then for the encore, Chuck and Keith came out, but it was sort of a not so secret sort of thing.
Oh, amazing.
And it was funny too, because we got a note saying that Drew Barrymore wanted tickets to the show, through like the record label, like she had her assistant write to Sub Pop and request tickets to go see us play. And I remember we just wrote about like, it's a free show. Like she just has to show up at MacArthur Park with like 600 other people. And there was even like someone had taken photos of that show. And my mother-in-law, then just girlfriend's mom, was wearing was wearing a No Age shirt, and so people thought like, oh wow, everybody comes to a No Age show, even old ladies come down to downtown, LA, like MacArthur Park's it's pretty sketchy, but there's a lot of room, we kind of took over this little zone.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so we come out after a show. I think we did like 6 songs, and it was incredible. It was really fun, and Lance was shooting it, and the footage is insane. And I remember, but it was just great getting to practice it. But Keith made everybody set lists. It was really cool. It was a very kind of iconic handwriting, sort of signature style, and put out all the set lists ahead of time. And it was very, very pumped, to get to do this. And I think I was just sweaty. We just played a whole set, but we knew the songs, like in our sleep. They were in our bones. And these guys, I think, were nervous to do it. But this was also like. So we played it, and it was insane. Everybody just lost their minds. I think there was somehow Sean made sure enough people knew something was going to happen. And so
Sean
it was a
very
big
good at that.
fun surprise of the whole thing. And I think that from my understanding, there was the band Off that Keith was in already. And there was a feeling that, oh, well, if we're going to do this, we should do this with why is No Age involved in this? We should just do this with like other members of the band. And that's sort of what premeditated or jump started the idea of the Flag band.
Okay.
Where they had, original members of Black Flag minus Greg Ginn.
Yeah.
And Stephen Edgerton from Descendants sitting in on guitar. It was a much better choice for a Greg Ginn fill-in than me. I was not offended by that. But they did invite us to the first Flag show at the Elks Lodge, where Black Flag played their first show in Redondo Beach. So that was insane. There was footage of that somewhere too. There was like maybe 100 people crammed into his tiny little back room, function room of an Elks Lodge in Redondo for that first show. And it was fucking insane. You can see Bill Stevenson play all those songs, and Dez joined the band too, and he sang some songs and played guitar, double guitar. And that's one of my favorite eras of Black Flag, was when it was the 5-piece, when it was Henry and Dez, and then Bill and Greg and Chuck. So super cool, that's
amazing.
Fun. It was insane. One of those highlights of a thing I ever got to do in my life.
Yeah,
remember right before we went on, Dean made me show Keith and Chuck my Black Flag bars, my tattoo. Like I hadn't shown him, I was like, I'm not a
like I'm gonna wear long sleeves.
But I had on the road right before we went on, like in between the 2 sets. Dean was like, dude, you gotta show him the tattoo. I'm like, I'm not showing. And then I showed it to him with Keith. He's like,
nice one, Randy.
You're gonna owe Ray money for that one.
Don't show anybody, man.
Which I think they ended up getting sued by Greg, or had to settle out of court. Yeah. Oh, but was fucked up.
I remember that.
Not fucked up, but we did get asked by the No Fun Fest or Fun Fest, or the big festival in Austin, if we would do that again. Graham, the promoter, again, like I think Sean told him, well, this is what's happening, you got to come. So he was there for that, and then wanted to book us for that. And that was sort of where Dimitri, I was told, again, I don't know if this is right, but Dimitri stepped in and said, no, I'm going to manage this new thing. Like, I don't want this No Flag thing being a moneymaker that I'm cut out of in any way. because I think Dimitri sort of had Keith on the line
Mm,
for anything Keith related. Dimitri had to get a cut of it, and he was going to be
okay.
the one to sort of be the conduit to Keith
Manage
playing live and making so he can make money from that. So good for them though, but at the same time, we weren't looking to start another band or another side band or anything. And I think Off was a good enough band, or it was the band that they were anyway. So we weren't trying to fuck up their thing. And we were looking to do something else. It was kind of wouldn't this be funny?
It's like a fun thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Which is why we have
Again,
the career we
a
have.
very
Dimitri
LA
has the career he has. Yeah.
Yeah. And and it's a very LA thing though. It's like to be able to do those weird things where you're like sitting there going, wow, am I here? This is weird. And I'm just doing this for fun.
Yeah.
This is like one of those times.
Yeah. I do keep texting with Keith trying to get him on the podcast. And we've gotten into this tiling conversation where he just shows me the different bathrooms he's tiling at the rental properties he owns.
Oh, really?
And so he wants to come on the podcast, but he's got to finish up these different tile jobs. And every time I write him, he has another tile job or a painting job or something.
I've been doing so many tile jobs, Randy. I mean, I would love to do it, man. I have a
text thread of pictures of his bathrooms at his rental properties in Venice. And he shows me where the color of the tile, the place where he gets the tile from, like how they did the grouting on it and everything. I was like, oh my God. It's impressive. It is impressive.
I love Keith so much.
No, this is Chuck. This is Chuck doing this.
Chuck. No, I thought you said Keith.
No, Keith does not have any rental properties in Venice. I think Keith is probably at that same apartment he's always been at in Silver Lake.
Probably in Silver Lake, yeah.
It is always within minutes of Millie's. Again, I'm sure he just lives to not go back to Millie's.
Although he's they just did Circle
Coachella.
Jerks did Coachella, right?
Yeah. He asked everyone in the crowd to need $1 million. Was the guy that shot the CEO.
Oh, Luigi's.
Yeah. He's like, well, one Luigi's not enough. We need everybody out there in the audience to go be your own Luigi. That was great. I salute his sentiment.
I love Keith so much. He's the best.
Oh yeah, but yeah, that's the No Flag story. Yeah,
that's awesome. I love it.
There's more to it, but yeah, it was that time. It was 2010.
Yeah, it's great.
Something in there.
Listen, that's the best time. The best time for No Flag.
That 2010. Was fun. What was was that 15 years ago?
Which is insane.
Feels right. I've stopped feeling insane about time. I'm starting to feel like the age of it all. When like my wife and I are coming up on 20 years of when we first met, and for the first 6 months of saying that, it felt crazy. But now I'm just kind of like, yeah. This is how life goes. It's not unreasonable. It's a testament to not dying young,
to existence,
to living past your 20s and living through your 30s.
I mean, it's weird enough that we're these like meat bodies who've figured out how to balance on two weird limbs and run around the world, let alone to just exist for 50 years. It's crazy.
It's also one of the least impressive things I've ever done in my life is just existed for a long time. Of all the things I tried really hard to do, existing, had its moments. There were moments where I didn't know if that wasn't always a given, but in general, going from one day to the next with eating and sleeping and shitting, pretty basic. Yeah, as long as I can do
basic,
that.
But hey. The fact that we all do it, it's still crazy.
We do deserve our flowers for that one. Yeah. Everyone give yourself a pat on the back. For surviving
pat on the back.
Another day.
If you can still reach your hand all the way to your back, which I don't know, every day is.
I got PT starting this week. Maybe I can get to that. Yeah,
it's getting harder and harder to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the hand's doing better. Remember?
How's it look?
What is that? Yeah, just a good scar, and I'm almost got full use of it. It's about to be a full fist.
Nice.
Almost a fist. Yeah. We'll see.
That metal guitar picking is back. It's gonna be back.
I got the guitar, the pick surgically implanted in my finger now, so I don't have to hold it anymore. It's like go gadget finger. You can just like twitch and it'll like turn into a pick.
It just pops out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging in there with us. You can write to us at Hyphenate halftime. Not caffeinated, hyphenated. Hyphenate halftime at gmail.com. And you can find Aaron at Aaron Farley on Instagram, and I'm at Randy S. Randall. Make sure to like and subscribe, tell your friends, write a review, write us. Let us know what you're listening to, and go to all the other things. Go to isotope.com. Go to, what's the other one?
Look up Wilt Chamberlain's house.
Look up. Oh yeah, it's in the show notes below. I already embedded them.
You already put that in there.
They're there.
Yes.
They're there. Go
Yes.
see it. Futuristic Party Mansion.
Yes.com.
vote for Futuristic Party Mansion in the next elections. Just write in your own candidate. Futuristic Party Mansion.
Yes, it will be a much better choice.
Yes.
Much better choice.
All right. See you next time.
All right. Bye.